What if a police chase broke a piece of an elderly woman's past? What if they refused to take the blame? In Georgia, 81-year-old Margaret Ellis faced a heartbreaking loss, but her community mended her heart. Stay tuned for a story of love's memories, betrayal, and a touching act of kindness. In the small suburb of Willow Creek, Georgia, the streets were lined with peach trees. The scent of blossoms filled the warm air. Here, Margaret Ellis had lived for over 6 decades. She was an 81-year-old widow with a gentle soul. Margaret had bought her $220,000 cottage with her late husband, Thomas, in 1959. It was a home built on love and struggle. On the sunny afternoon of September 10th, 2028, Margaret sat on her porch. She gazed at an old bicycle leaning against the railing. The bike was rusted but precious. Thomas had used it to take her to the market during their early years. They were poor then, but happy. "We'll make it through, Maggie," Thomas would say. She smiled at the memory. Her fingers brushed the handlebars. The sound of crickets chirped softly. Willow Creek was a quiet community, but that afternoon, chaos erupted. A police chase tore through the streets. They were pursuing a thief who had stolen from a local shop. Sirens blared loudly. Tires screeched on the pavement. Margaret looked up, startled. Her hands gripped the porch railing. A police cruiser sped toward her house. It swerved to block the thief's path. The cruiser skidded across Margaret's front yard. It slammed into the old bicycle with a sickening crunch. The frame bent, and the wheels crumpled. Pieces scattered across the grass. Margaret gasped and stood. Her legs wobbled as she hurried down the steps. "No! Thomas's bike!" she cried. Tears welled in her eyes. The officers jumped out of the cruiser. Their boots crunched on the broken pieces. The lead officer, 32-year-old Kevin Holt, glanced at the wreckage. He saw Margaret trembling, her hands reaching for the bike. "Ma'am, are you okay?" he asked. His voice was tense. Margaret's voice broke. "This was my husband's. Our memories," she sobbed. Her fingers clutched a broken handlebar. The pain in her heart was unbearable. Holt radioed for backup. The static crackled as he spoke. "We've got a civilian upset. Situation under control," he said. His tone was dismissive. The thief was caught down the street. Neighbors rushed out of their homes. They gasped at the sight of the broken bike. Some stood beside Margaret. Her sobs grew softer. The loss felt like losing Thomas all over again. Margaret knelt by the bike for hours. She gathered the pieces in her hands. Each part held a memory of Thomas. She remembered the days they rode to the market, their laughter echoing. They had struggled to afford food, but Thomas always made her feel safe. "We've got each other," he'd say. Now the bike was gone. Tears fell onto the grass. The sun dipped below the horizon. The Homeowners Association took action. The HOA president, 49-year-old Laura Bennett, had known Margaret since childhood. Laura's mother had been Margaret's best friend. A neighbor's security camera had captured the incident. The footage showed the cruiser smashing into the bike. It showed Margaret's anguished reaction, but Officer Holt denied responsibility. "The bike was already broken," he claimed. His voice was cold. "We didn't cause her distress." Laura's heart broke for Margaret. She held the camera footage tightly. "This is wrong," she said to the HOA board. Her voice was firm. "Margaret deserves her memories." The board agreed to fight for her. They hired a lawyer to sue the police department. The rustle of legal documents filled their meeting room. Margaret's pain became their cause. The community would not let her grieve alone. The trial took place in a local courthouse. Residents packed the gallery. Their footsteps echoed on the wooden floor. Margaret sat in the front row. Her hands clutched a photo of Thomas on the bike. Her eyes were red from crying. The lawyer played the camera footage. The video filled the screen. It showed the cruiser crushing the bike. It showed Margaret's heartbroken collapse. Gasps filled the courtroom. The evidence was undeniable. Officer Holt took the stand. He shifted uncomfortably. "I didn't see the bike," he lied. His voice wavered. The judge's gaze was sharp. "The footage says otherwise," she said. Her tone was stern. The lawyer pressed further. "You saw Mrs. Ellis in distress. Why didn't you take responsibility?" he asked. Holt hesitated. I was focused on the suspect," he said. The courtroom murmured in disbelief. Margaret spoke next. Her voice trembled as she stood. "That bike was how Thomas took care of us," she said. Tears streamed down her face. "We were poor, but he made me feel rich with love." She held up the photo of Thomas, smiling beside the bike. "When it broke, I felt him slip away again." The courtroom fell silent. Jurors wiped their eyes. Laura squeezed Margaret's hand. The judge delivered her verdict. Her gavel slammed down with a resounding thud. "Officer Holt, you are guilty of reckless destruction," she declared. Her voice boomed. "You caused harm and lied about it." Holt was forced to admit his guilt. He was fired from the police force. The department was ordered to pay Margaret $4,000 in damages. The courtroom erupted in applause. Margaret's neighbors cheered for her. Margaret returned home the next day. The broken bike still lay in her yard. She sat on her porch, unable to touch it. The pain of losing Thomas felt fresh again. Laura and the HOA had a surprise for her. A group of neighbors gathered with tools and paint. "We're fixing Thomas's bike," Laura said. Her voice was warm. They worked together, sanding and painting. The sound of laughter filled the air. The neighbors restored the bike to its former glory. They painted it a soft blue, Thomas's favorite color. They added a small basket in the front. Inside they placed a bouquet of daisies, Margaret's favorite flower. "For your memories," Laura said. Her voice was kind. They leaned the bike against the porch. Margaret touched the handlebars. "Thomas, you're back," she whispered. Tears of gratitude filled her eyes. Margaret sat on her porch every morning. The bike stood as a symbol of her love for Thomas. She ran her fingers over the daisies in the basket. "We made it through, didn't we?" she said to him. Her voice was soft. The community had given her more than a bike. They had given her peace. Willow Creek became a symbol of love and justice. Margaret smiled at the bike. The warmth of her neighbors healed her heart, and so, a broken bike became a battle for justice in Willow Creek, Georgia. Margaret Ellis found solace through her community's love. How would you preserve a loved one's memory? What do you think? Should communities protect the past? Share your thoughts. Join us next time for another tale of justice. Until then, keep standing up for what's right. Thank you for listening.